Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's very nice to see you. My name's Jet, J-E-T, Jet Crawford. I'm from Australia, but I've lived in Hong Kong for 23 years now, and I'm a permanent resident. So, ironically, Hong Kong is my home, even though lots of other people want to live in other countries. I'm here. I used to work for HKU SPACE for about... It's not working?
Yeah, this one is for recording, but this one is for the PA system. Yeah, please.
Test one, test one, there we go. Okay. I used to work, Cecilia was my boss for about 5.5, almost 6 years. And I taught, I think, every level of English over those years. And prior to that, I was a net teacher for about 21 years in different high schools in Hong Kong. And before that, I was a high school teacher in Sydney, where I'm from. I'm a graduate of Sydney University, and I have my degree in English and history. It's a combined degree. And I also have, of course, my diploma in education. So that's my background and that's my qualifications. So I've been a teacher my whole life. It's nice to see you here today. And you're here because you're attracted to my topic, and that is, can AI help you in your attempts to learn English or to improve your ability in English? So that's what we're going to look at today. And let's get started. Now, along the way, I have 3 Hong Kong U diaries to give out as little gifts if you are keen enough or brave enough to try to answer some of my questions. Okay, so let's see how we go. Okay, first of all, I want you to think about your concept of AI. What is it? And if you apply AI to English, what is it that you think AI might be able to do for you? What could it do? Can you imagine? That's why you're here. You must be curious about it. So what have you been thinking about AI and English? Would anybody like to share one thing they can imagine or hope for about AI and their English? For example, do you think it can help you speak better?
Learning English, correct my grammar.
Grammar, okay. So correct your grammar. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Speaking, grammar. How about writing?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe?
Right.
Okay. How about checking your work? Proofreading your work. Yeah? Checking your work. All right. Okay. How about reading? Could AI help you with reading? Okay. All right. Well, let's investigate some of these things. What are we going to look at today? Just so you know, we're going to look at the following AI tools. Okay. So we're going to look at AI chat apps. So we talked about speaking. So there are a bunch of apps online that you can use, download them onto your phone, etc., and try to have a conversation with somebody. I don't know whether it's a person, it's some AI entity that you'll be talking to. It's not a real human, of course. But you could try to simulate a conversation with another English speaker. We're going to look at AI paraphrasing tool. So this is a writing tool and kind of a vocab tool as well. We'll look at paraphrasing when we get to that topic. If you're not sure what it is, I'll explain it to you once we get there. AI plagiarism checkers. Now again, you may not be familiar with the word plagiarism, and I'll explain it to you once we get to that stage of our little session this afternoon. And of course, AI writing apps. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Okay. Now notice I haven't got to anything about reading yet, because I don't think AI can help you with reading. Okay, snakes and ladders. You may have played this game as a child. I don't know how popular it is in Chinese culture or in Hong Kong, but in Western culture it's a very, very common childhood board game. The principle is, of course, that you can get ahead of other players if you get particular throws of the dice, particular numbers, and ladders will get you closer to the finish line where you might become the winner. So we could say that ladders are ways of you having some benefit in your learning, getting ahead. Snakes, on the other hand, take you backwards in the game, further and further away from the finish line. So we're going to be looking at the idea of snakes taking you backwards or maybe not helping you a lot, as well as ladders, things that might help you or move you forward in your study of English. We could use words like pros and cons, benefits and drawbacks, positives, negatives, good points, bad points. The things that will help you and the things that maybe are not of great help. So that's what we're going to be doing. To start, I want to look at what I would see as 5 general benefits that I think AI can bring you as a student of English. One of the common questions that I've always had asked of me as a teacher is, Jet, how can I improve my speaking? And of course, you can't improve your speaking if you don't speak. If you never speak English, you're never going to be a better speaker of English. That means you have to be able to talk to somebody in English. So if you're locked into only speaking English in the classroom and then you go home and for the next 7 days you never speak English again, this is the problem. So, okay, you might be able to use AI to simulate a conversation with an AI person online. Okay, that's a benefit. Better than nothing. All right, you mentioned to me, how can you improve your grammar and maybe your spelling and vocab and things like that. So yes, AI can help you with that. It is a clear benefit, I think. And we'll look at these in detail during the course of the afternoon. Now, some sites, some apps, actually try to give you a rating, a score. They'll ask you for a sample, for example, of your writing. And you press submit, and a few seconds later, they'll give you a score. They might give you a number grade, like 50 out of 100. Or they might say average. They'll give you a word grade, or they'll say above average. The reason I've got that little asterisk there is that you have to be careful about that. Is that site accurate? Are there qualified teachers behind it? I mean, it's AI that's assessing your work, not a human being. So if they say your writing is worth 60% or 63 out of 100, honestly, I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but it's an indicator. It's an indicator. And maybe you might be happy to be told your writing is above average. Exactly what your language level is, I don't think the AI app would really know at the moment. But it might be of use to you. It can supply paraphrasing tools, and this is really useful and something that I would recommend to you. So grammar and spelling checks, yes. Paraphrasing tools, yes. Definitely of benefit to you. And again, if you're not sure of these things, we'll talk about them when we get to them. Lastly, AI can detect whether your work shows evidence of being copied from the internet or from a book or something like that. Now, that might be useful to you if you have an assignment to submit, or if you have a work email or some work report that you need to give, or a presentation that you need to make in the workplace. Anything that you need to write for formal assessment, this can help you determine whether your work is going to be clean or not. 5 drawbacks, 5 snakes, if you like. Okay, what are they? Well, there's a lack of transparency, and it presents some privacy issues in that we know AI is trained on all knowledge. So, for example, everything that's ever written online, every photograph, every painting, every recording of music or sound, everything that's on the internet, everything. AI will harvest all of that data, including yours. Maybe information about yourself. That will be harvested by AI and kept in its memory. So there are issues about that. Where the source material comes from, that's why it lacks transparency. What is it basing its assessment on? You don't know, I don't know, nobody knows. Subtleties. The small things about any language, not just English, the subtleties. So I think that AI tools at the moment don't allow for context, the context of that information, nuance, subtleties, small things. Idiomatic language in particular, which is common in English. I use idioms all the time. I don't think about it because I'm a native speaker, they just come out. So idiomatic language at the moment, I think AI does not handle very well, and slang. So some weaknesses, if you like. I think the AI tools have the potential to discourage good old-fashioned learning habits, where you sit down and you practice something the hard way. Exercises, drills, memorization, rote learning, checking dictionaries, listening carefully, trying to speak to another person in English. We can forget that we have to do these things. AI, we might see as a shortcut. Not good. Long term, I think, not good. That promotes over-reliance, I think, or could promote over-reliance on these tools, where you say, okay, I'll let the robot do it. A bit like having a domestic helper do all of your homework for you. Eventually, you won't know what to do because you rely too much on AI. So these, I think, are 4, and then the 5th one, obviously, there's no human-to-human interaction with AI, particularly when you try to speak to a bot or an AI entity online. You've got to remember, it's not a real person you're talking to. And communication, in the end, is really a human activity. Okay? We need to be able to communicate with other human beings in whatever is our target second language. And in your case, if it's English, you need to be able to have human-to-human interaction. Now, here's one little example of where AI may not be entirely reliable. I wrote lack transparency, and when I put my writing through a grammar checker, it said, oh, you made a mistake. You mean lack of transparency. No, I meant it lacks transparency. So it didn't pick up my usage. My usage is perfectly correct. AI tools lack transparency. That's a fact. That's a statement. If I say AI tools lack of transparency is grammatically incorrect. But Grammarly was telling me I had made a mistake when I hadn't. So there's just one little example of, well, can you really rely on AI tools at the moment to be 100% correct? No, you can't. It's telling me there's an error where there is no error. So if you happily change your text according to the recommendation, you'll be wrong. Not good. As one example. Okay, now what's the biggest problem with AI tools? Are you ready? You'll have to wait until the end. As you know, if you've watched enough YouTube videos, you know, the top 10 things or the top 5 things or the worst 6 things, you always have to wait to the end to get the number one thing on the list, right? So unfortunately, you'll have to wait until the end to get the number one problem, what I think is the number one problem. Okay, so let's dig into these things now, and we'll start with AI chat apps. And the general question is, are they useful? Now, I just got some screen grabs here. These are straight from my computer, and I'm not recommending any particular brand or any particular product. In many ways, they're all the same. You can invent characters for yourself. You can tailor-made a character. You can say, I want to talk to a psychologist or a doctor. I want to talk to an architect, all that sort of stuff, and that's all good. Okay, nice. Now, I chose one particular app. It asked me, well, what language? So I chose English. And it gave me 3 general kind of options like this. So chat, sentence mode, call mode. Notice, money, not free. Not free. This one was free. Oh, excellent. I'll choose that one. It's free. Okay. So I chose that one. And I said I wanted to improve my English, and in particular, my grammar. So a couple of screen grabs. So, you know, they said, oh, what's holding you back? Why can't you improve in English? And this is what I typed into my chat. And here's my first question for a diary today. What are the errors in what I wrote? What's wrong with my...
I want to learn English grammar.
Ah, very good. Right. What's wrong with I am wanting? Can you tell me?
The person continue.
Person continue at times.
Uh-huh.
Continue.
Right, so you find that there's a problem with wanting, right? There is a problem with wanting, right? It's what we call a stative verb. Okay, when you want something, it doesn't involve motion, it doesn't involve action. Okay? I want some coffee. I'm not moving, am I?
That's action.
Right, right. So in stative verbs, there's no ing form in stative verbs. All right, and any problem here? Spelling, right, spelling, right. Now, notice you can check the feedback, but if you don't, you might miss some of the subtleties of your response. Thank you for contributing. Thanks a lot. So, that's what I wrote. So check the feedback always. If you don't check the feedback, you may not realize any error in what you've typed in. All right, so it tells me, you know, it's really important. So I check my feedback. I realize it's made some errors there. But notice the chatbot doesn't tell me I've made an error. It doesn't tell me. It just goes on with the conversation. All right, so remember, you may not get any particular feedback about your language. You'll get responses about the topic, but you may not get any clues as to language errors that you are making. you might check the feedback, but the feedback is not always complete. So it told me, when I checked, it told me about my grammar mistake. Did it tell me about my stative verb error? No, it didn't. So I would continue to make that error because the AI bot has not told me I'm using the wrong grammar. So not entirely accurate. It never told me the mistake I was making. All right, so then I tried this. And this is what I wrote. Not great English. Some mistakes in there. Can anybody else tell me what's wrong with my language here? What's one error in my response here? One grammar error, any error. Is there a spelling error in there? Wanted, all right, wanted, yeah. It should be I want. Should be I want. Okay. Now, in casual conversation, this might be okay, but you would like to know whether it's formally correct or not. Okay, the mistake in grammar, common error, and what else is wrong here?
Speak well.
Yeah, speak well. That's right, not speak good. Now, it might pick up 1, 2, or all of those errors, or it may pick up only one. It might tell me, oh, grammar, misspelled. Okay, all right, but it doesn't tell me about this, or maybe it doesn't tell me about that. All right, it might tell me something. So what did this one tell me? All right, it tells me why grammar is important. Now, all of this might also be useful for another reason. Vocab. Vocab. One of the best things about using these chat programs is that they can give you vocab suggestions. For example, in this one, okay, so that's the complete sentence. Accurate, understandable. That's useful. Practice some basic grammar concepts. Okay, that's good vocab about the usefulness of grammar. So that might help you build up a vocab base next time you need to talk about English grammar, for example, in an oral task in an exam. So all of that together is useful contextual information. Let's look at this one. All right, I don't have to check feedback, they say, because my message looks like it's error-free. It's pretty simple. Now again, I'm asking the bot a question, you see? I'm asking the bot. Let's talk about Hong Kong. What do you think about Hong Kong? And again, let's have a look at what it came up with. Useful vocab, really useful vocab that you may not have thought of yourself, but the robot did. So this is useful. In using these apps, if we forget about whether your language is accurate or not, the responses you get could well be very useful for building your vocab on a particular topic. So, topic, opinions of Hong Kong. You get some idea, you get some feedback. Here we're talking about Hong Kong cuisine, Hong Kong food, particularly street food. The bot asked me, can you name some Hong Kong food? And I said, no. Of course I can, but I said no. I wanted to see what the bot would tell me. I know what I know about Hong Kong food. I've lived here for nearly 25 years. All right, again, your message looks good. And so again, what we get is maybe some vocab ideas. So like the word portion, food preferences, little things like that, which are all useful for building up vocab. I really like fish balls and pineapple bun. Okay, let's have a look. I wrote this. What's wrong here? Okay, it picked up my spelling error, right? It picked up my spelling error. What's wrong with here? Another spelling error, but it didn't find it. It didn't find the misspelling for pineapple. That's weird, isn't it? It picked up one spelling error, but not the other. So again, watch out. It may or may not be particularly accurate. Then I went over to a different program. And again, I'm not interested in telling you what it is. You can find them for yourselves online. I only use the free ones, of course. All right, so I want to chat about having a picnic, and this is what ChatGPT told me. All right, and then that was my response. And then look at what I got back from the robot. I got all of this vocab, all of these ideas that maybe I would never think of. So I've got really simple input, but the response I get could be pretty elaborate, pretty detailed, with some great vocab, some great sentence structure, some great ideas that I can take away with me about picnics. Fantastic, useful, great. So, in summary about that part of my presentation, chat programs may or may not detect problems with your English, but they will be very useful for giving you responses to build up your own ideas bank and your own vocab bank. So, give them a try. Let's move on to idiomatic language. And this is another program, I think ChatGPT, this one. I said, Chris had asked me how I was. How are you, Jet? And my answer was, I'm flat out like a lizard on a rock. How are you? Now that's an English idiom, common in Australia and common in the USA. Flat out like a lizard on a rock. Ever heard of it before? This idiom? All right, so we're looking at idiomatic language now. So I specifically used an idiom in my response. I wanted to test how it would respond to an idiom. The response was nothing. Didn't respond to my idiom. It just said, hi. No response to my idiom. Now, if I say this to somebody who's another native English speaker, they know exactly what I mean. They know exactly why I chose that idiom. But the robot didn't. So you see, context, subtlety, it missed it. It didn't respond to my response. So then I tried again. You see, how can I assist you today? And I thought, you ignored my idiom. I'm not happy with that, so I used the idiom again. Like, pay attention. Respond to my idiom, please. And guess what it did? It didn't respond to my idiom. It didn't respond. Oh, I see. So I thought, well, this is interesting. Now, here's my idiom. What does it mean? Well, here's a lizard flat out on a rock, but it's a pun. Flat out in English means at full speed. It means you are extremely busy. You are under pressure. Work is killing you. You've got no spare time. You're tired. You're stressed. That's what flat out like a lizard on a rock means in English. You are under stress. extremely busy with a packed schedule. You can hardly breathe. Now, ChatGPT just said, yeah, hi, let's chat. It didn't ask me, why are you flat out like a lizard on a rock? Why are you under stress? It didn't pick it up. Didn't pick it up. So, idiomatic language failed. All right, so then I thought, okay, I've tried twice. I'll try a third one. This is part of the conversation. All right, let's rock and rolly, guacamole. It's a little rhyming idiom in English. Let's rock and rolly, guacamole. Now, guacamole is, of course, a fruit, right? It's common in South America, Central America. It looks a little bit like a mango. It's green in color. If you enjoy nachos or something like that, this is part of the dipping sauce. Okay? So, I said, let's rock and rolly, guacamole. Now, again, a native English speaker will know what that means. It's a way of saying, let's get into it. Go! Okay? Let's get into it. I was hoping it would respond. So here's a guacamole, okay, here's an avocado, I should say, part of the guacamole dish. And instead, the app said, oh, this speaker is difficult. They keep on using idioms that I can't respond to. So, upgrade to Pro, please. I can't deal with you anymore. And it terminated the conversation. It told me it had run out of time for me, which I found hard to believe because the chat was only, 2 or 3 questions. It just dismissed me straight away. So, okay, idiomatic language, maybe, maybe not. So then I tried a different app and a different idiom. Now this time I went to this one, deepai.org. And the idiom I used was this one. I asked, shall we dance the light fantastic? I thought, now this is a really unique idiom in English. And if this picks it up, I'll be very happy. And guess what? It knew exactly what I was talking about. And it even gave me a breakdown of where this idiom came from and what it means. So 2 different apps, 2 very different responses to idiomatic language. One, the other one, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. So different apps, different levels of sophistication, different levels of language expertise. They are not all the same. So here's my idiom. It told me what it means. It told me even the movie from 1942 where this idiom originates. So I thought, well, that's pretty good. So, AI chat apps, a summary. Useful for generating topic vocabulary, really useful, I think. It gives you some feedback on spelling and maybe grammar, punctuation maybe, spelling, but it's not always accurate with language feedback. And I think with idiomatic language in particular, probably doesn't handle it well. So, pluses, minuses. Let's move on to paraphrasing tools. All right, so I borrowed this idea from a cartoon I found online. 2 cows, one says, moo, and the other one says, hey, I just said that. Find your own words. Don't copy me. So, what's paraphrasing? Paraphrasing means when you take the language of text A and you convert it, keep the same ideas, same content, and you convert it into different language, different words, different syntax, maybe different sentence structure. All the ideas are the same, but the words are different. More or less, they are different. That's what paraphrasing is. It's a great language tool. Why? Because it builds your vocab. You know, I'll give you a simple example. Big, okay, large, huge, enormous, gigantic, massive. So we can choose one word and convert that one into another word that has the same or similar meaning. And there are lots of paraphrasing tools online. Let's have a look at them. I chose this short paragraph from Wikipedia called the Violet Town Rail Accident. The reason I chose it is because my brother's a historian and he's very interested in this train accident. It happened in Australia in 1969. Several people were killed, and it was a famous accident in Australia at the time. So I'm focusing on this paragraph from Wikipedia. Okay? And what I did was I copied that and I fed it into a paraphrasing app. So here's the original, straight from Wikipedia. And I've got some options up here. So obviously I chose English. Okay, sort of the level of English, maybe the target audience. Here's an academic level, a formal level. I just chose standard, ordinary, everyday, acceptable English. I chose that. So I entered that, 56 words, and the app generated this. This is a paraphrase. It tells me in orange the words that it changed, in yellow any structural changes, and in blue the longest unchanged words. So, okay, that's useful. And 55 words, almost identical to the original. So I'm thinking there's probably not much that's missing here. It's more or less the same. All right, so let's try. Tell me, if this is the new version, this is the paraphrase, what words or phrases were changed? Can you tell me some or one? So if we look at often referred to, what's that in the original?
Also lower.
Yeah, also known as.
Referred.
So let's see, catastrophe in the original, that would be disaster. Happened, occurred, all right. About 1 kilometer. Approximately, all right. Well, km became kilometer. Caused by, in the original, that would be resulting, okay. Drivers, a driver over there, okay, so that's interesting. The train's drivers. There were fatalities, collision, and you might be able to see deaths, collision. What word with the crash, right? Okay, so this is what paraphrasing is about, and it can help you improve your vocab. And if you are borrowing ideas from another source, at least it's forcing you to express them in original language. Okay? Not just copy and pasting. That's not very good. It's against Hong Kong U principles as well. Most universities will discourage, of course, any work that's just copy and pasted. So this is a good discipline. So then I tried, let's give it another go. Same thing. I entered it again and it gave me some new paraphrased material. So the original version A, the paraphrased version B. Again, let's see. by other names. That would be known by other names. So in the original, that would be what? Also known as, right? Catastrophe would be disaster, right? Or accident. Happened, occurred, when? Probably following. The drivers became incapacitated. Incapacitation, right. So here we've got a change of word form as well. Okay, so here we're going from the adjective form of the verb down to here a noun. So we've changed the grammar as well. And that's also part of paraphrasing. Not just a straight different word, but changing also the sentence structure and maybe some of the tense or voice aspects of the word. Okay. Useful. I recommend that you use them, particularly when you know your job is to repeat content ideas, but you need to be original in your grammar. At least those tools will help you do that. And then another thing that you can do, just because of time I didn't bother, you could take your new version, version B, re-enter it, and then get version C, which is 2 generations away now from the original. It's probably going to be quite different. Probably good. Not always, but probably good. All right, so summary. I reckon they do a mostly good job. They're not perfect, but they do mostly a good job. I recommend that you use them to help you improve your vocab and your writing. But at the end of the day, you still need to double check whether the words they suggest are right. Now, I'll give you an example. These 2 pictures. What's the best word to describe this? 2 cars have crashed into each other. Normally, we would just call this a road accident. Right. Now, the world's biggest tsunami wiping out a city. Would we call this an accident? No. What would we call this? Disaster. Catastrophe, right. Something really large scale. So 2 different words, but we saw that the paraphrasing thought, oh, maybe accident could be catastrophe. Not sure about that. I think they are 2 different levels of bad things. So keep that in mind, okay? Now, plagiarism. Plagiarism is when you copy the work of somebody else and you present it to your teacher, your boss, your colleagues as your own work. So you've stolen somebody else's writing and you've put your name on it. That's what plagiarism is. Not good. Okay, so there are online plagiarism checkers. Are they any good? Well, again, I entered my Wikipedia paragraph, exactly the same thing. I pretended it's mine. And I asked the app to check. And it said, wow, excellent, all original. I copied it from Wikipedia and it said, fine, no copying. I thought, wow, that's terrible. And instead, it said there was 1 punctuation error. I thought, what? 1 punctuation error? I copied that all from Wikipedia. But it said, no problem, it's fine. Okay, so straight away I said, I'm going to have to be careful about these plagiarism checkers. Maybe they're not so good. So you've got to try another one, right? So try another one. Okay. This one was called Paraphraser, and guess what? 100% copied, all right? So it found that this work was not my own. It found it on the internet and said, no, you copied every word, you see? 100%. Nothing is unique, nothing is original. Now, it does give me a chance to remove the plagiarism by offering some suggestions or reminding me, well, you better change that sentence because there's something on the internet that's exactly the same. All right, so that's useful. So that one was pretty good. All right. Now, a plagiarism detector is not quite the same as an AI detector. An AI detector, see, you've got the same paragraph. It's trying to find out whether this exists in that great big library, that great big store of knowledge inside AI itself. Has AI seen this before? And has AI generated this? And the answer was, in this case, no, which is true. Wikipedia wrote this, not AI. So the AI detector found that this had not gone through AI. It was not an AI product. Somebody, a human, wrote this. So that's nice to know, okay? So AI detectors do exist. You could take a passage that you had generated by AI, you can put it through an AI detector, and it will tell you whether AI made this or whether you did. Which means your teacher can find out exactly the same, your boss or whoever's interested in finding out, is this work yours? Or did you have it generated by AI? Okay, they can find that out. Now, as a teacher, not so much at Hong Kong U, but certainly in high school, and certainly when I'm looking at work that students submit to me for my assessment, I will always run their work through plagiarism detectors and AI detectors. I always do that. So be mindful that whoever you submit work to also has access to these tools. So if it's not your work, they'll probably find out it's not your work, okay? So, summary of these AI checkers. Some are of very poor quality. Remember, one said no plagiarism at all. So, use multiple checkers. If you want to double check your own work, if you have copied, will your copying be found? Now, if you've done paraphrasing first and then you run it through AI, okay, you should be safe. Finally, AI writing apps, are they any good? Let's have a look. I think this one was Grammarly. It lets you target your audience, general, knowledgeable, educated people or expert professors and teachers and so on. The level of formality in your English, the area or domain that you need this for. It might be for academic purposes, business purposes, general purpose, and so on. And then you can start writing and you can submit your work to the app. So I wrote a really good paragraph about Kevin and his piano skills. Perfect English. Not. It's not very good. I got a score of 42 out of 100 for my hard work. I failed. I didn't even get 50. I was very disappointed. So again, is this true? Is it really worth 42? Well, according to this app, but what's that based on? We don't know. Again, there's no transparency. What are its standards of assessment? We don't know. Is it really 42? I might say it's 32. Or I might say, oh, it's 48 or 52. It gave me some statistics about it. And down here it says, oh, my word length is above average. Oh, okay. Is that true? Again, we don't know. Sentence length, a little bit above average, kind of close to average. Okay, it may or may not be terribly accurate, but it gives me some sort of feedback. All right, I've still got 2 diaries to give away. So, how many errors are there in this writing? I'll give you a clue, it's between 0 and 20. How many errors? Can you count them? All right, so we want a number. It's somewhere between 0 and 20. How many errors? $16? Any other? It's like an auction now. Any other takers? 16? 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 11, 12, 14, 13, 17. Time. Somebody said 16. There were 15. There were 15 errors, but you were, I think, very, very close, and you were the first to respond. Well done. Okay, there are 15 errors in there. So that's why I got 42 out of 100. So, okay, that might be a reasonable score. Now, using Grammarly, it then finds all of the errors, or tries to find all of the errors, and it gives me suggestions about how to fix it. So you can use these kinds of tools to double check your own writing before you submit, either to your teacher, your boss, or some other colleague, or whatever. Okay? Very, very useful. And it tries to go through all of them. As one example, it gives me suggestions to review. I can accept them or I can dismiss them. I can then regenerate the sentence through AI. If I wanted to, I could get a fresh sentence. I didn't bother, but you could do that. You can set your voice, like how formal do you want it to be, like what's your purpose here, what's your audience, and so on. And this can be quite useful. So, okay, I want them to improve my sentence. Can you give me something better? All right. Kevin plays piano good. The correction is Kevin plays the piano well. I can try again, and they can give me maybe another sentence. I can also ask, make it persuasive, make it assertive, tone. Okay, so what does it give me? Make it persuasive. Oh, okay, that's good. I like that. Hey, that's a great idea. Again, building up my vocab. And again, I can put it through AI to reconstruct that sentence again. Make it inspirational. See, all these things that I can do with tone. Constructive, confident, make it friendly, make it sound casual. What's that look like? That's casual, conversational English. So this kind of thing is really, really useful. And then I submitted these 2 sentences as a test. Can you see why I did that? It didn't find my error. Can anybody tell me my error? 2. Yeah, okay. Well, you were the first. Congratulations. Yeah, well done. Right. It should be, right, T-O-O, not T-W-O. All right? Jenny is not 2 people. Jenny is only 1. So I love you too, T-O-O. So it didn't pick that up. You see what I mean? Sometimes these tools fail. So AI writing apps summary. Grammarly, I think, is good as one particular app for finding language errors. It does help with tone and audience. Grammarly, very useful. It does provide useful suggestions for better expression, but it will not find every error in your writing. So be mindful of that. Remember, I said wait till the end, the biggest problem. What happened to my slide? It didn't appear. I'll get to it. Remember back in the days of travelers' phrase books? If you wanted to travel, let's say, to France, back before the internet, before some of you were born. If you wanted to learn some other language, you had to go to a bookshop and buy a language book, a phrase book, before you went to France, if you didn't speak French. Okay, you had to go to a bookshop and buy an old school phrase book and take it with you in your luggage or in your backpack to France and fumble around with it. Language cassettes. Wow. Let's see, I think some of you don't even know what a cassette is, right? It's a tape recording. You probably don't even know what a tape recording is. Well, when everybody saw these language cassettes back in the late 60s, early 70s, they put, the latest tool. This will help us improve our French. We can listen to French now and practice, repeat. This is great. This will help us with our English. The latest invention. Then came videotapes. Now we can see people speaking and eating French food and walking around Paris speaking French. This is fantastic. The latest tool. This will really help us improve our English, our French. Fantastic. Or swap any English you like. Thai, Japanese, Russian, German. Doesn't matter. I just chose French. And then the CD-ROM, interactive and blah, 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 blah. No, this will really help me improve my language skills. Fantastic. Then YouTube. Yes, this will really help improve my language skills. I can subscribe to this channel, all of these lessons, fantastic. And of course, didn't help us, did it? Why? Okay, yeah. Now we've got OpenAI, the latest tool. Yeah, that will really help me improve my French, right? But it won't. So, biggest problem? You raised an unrealistic expectations. You are the user of these tools, and you think that somehow, suddenly, overnight, your English will just get so much better. It won't. It won't. That's the reality. It won't. Not quickly, not easily. No. No single tool will improve your English or any language quickly or easily. They bring convenience. They are useful. But speed, your ability to improve overnight in 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, no. What's the missing ingredient? Your effort, your application, your old school approach to learning language. AI tools are not like magic bullets that are going to sort of take out all of your language problems fast. No, they won't. Active learning is what's required. This is the old school approach to learning any language or learning anything. You have to engage with it. You have to expend effort. You have to apply yourself to it regularly and seriously. My second language is Italian. If I don't apply myself regularly, my Italian won't get anywhere. Just like you, if your second or third language, for many of you, might be English. With any language, we won't get better unless we apply ourselves to it. And no one tool will get you there any faster. Okay, so watch movies, documentaries, read English books, talk to other English speakers as often as you can. Try to write in English. Even keep a personal diary in English, what you did today. So what did we look at today? We looked at these kinds of tools. And we decided whether they were not so useful. We also looked at their shortcomings, their weaknesses, their faults, their limitations. We also looked at how they might improve your English. And some of them are useful to helping you improve, but they don't replace the learning process. That's not possible. Finito. I hope that was useful to you, okay? Thanks for being attentive. Thanks for engaging. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. And I hope that the presentation dispels some misconceptions you have about AI. It's not all bad news. It's not all bad news. There are useful tools, but you can't rely on them 100%. Not at the moment, okay? Okay. If you'd like to ask me any questions about anything to do with your English or AI, just ask away. Or if you need to leave, go, but I'll be here if you want to ask any questions.
I have tried to use the AI check the Chinese language grammar, but he gave me the answer all wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. It's similar to the state of AI for English at the moment. You can't rely on it 100%.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. And you've always got to double check.
Yeah.
Correct. But the good thing is there are multiple applications that you can use and you can compare your results.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
Have you tried some AI apps for practicing your speaking skills?
I haven't used the microphone. What I've done is I've just used the text-based chat, right? For some reason at home, my computer microphone has just decided not to work. I need to replace it. So leading up to today, I didn't actually try verbal interaction. So I can't comment. I've only been able to enter my text and get the chat back that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question? No? Okay. All right. Thanks. Again, nice to meet you, and thanks for coming.